mark. No casings, no brass, not a single fingerprint.
Start recording. Every face on video. Put him on your phone.
He didn't come here to die, and he does not want to be found. We're going to disappoint him.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 thriller To Catch a Killer. The film is co-written and directed by Damien Zefron and it stars Shailene Woodley and Ben Mendelsohn. Now the film starts with the brutal slaying of 29 individuals by a sniper. You see this at the beginning. You see these innocent people being shot, and it's very shocking, very brutal. And then we witness the aftermath, the police turning up, and there is a police officer called Eleanor who arrives at the scene, is obviously very distressed and shocked by what she sees, but also has the presence of mind to give correct instructions to other officers and the public and so on and so forth. And she makes some accurate and interesting observations. This is observed by Ben Mendelsohn's character, Landmark, who is like an FBI specialist, and he has been put on this case to hunt down this killer. So soon after these 29 people are butchered by this sniper, he puts together his own team, himself, somebody he trusts from the FBI, and he recruits Eleanor, this officer, who showed so much potential at the scene. And he kind of recruits her to his team from the local police force because as he explains, he needs people around him that he can trust, because this is such a big case. There's going to be a lot of people have got their own agenda in regards to solving this case, and he wants people he can trust so that he can catch the killer with focus. As the film progresses, they feel like they're getting closer to the killer, but they are also sidetracked again by these people with an agenda, red herrings, so on and so forth. And they hope that they can move closer to catching this killer. Right, what are my thoughts on To Catch a Killer? Well, I like a good thriller. A nicely constructed thriller can be quite a fun watch sort of thing, and definitely keep you on the edge of your seat and keep you interested and engaged. And I'll be honest, when I put this on, I wasn't necessarily... It's a film I hadn't heard of. I hadn't seen any trailers or anything of this film. But when I read the synopsis, if you like, I thought, yeah, I'm going to give this one a go because I liked how it sounded. And basically, the way it explained it, you know, the fact that there's like this killer on the loose and they've got to kind of track him down sort of thing, that sometimes can lead to a good film and a film that interests me because I like them sort of films. And I have to say, this film pleasantly surprised me. It is far better than I expected it to be. I didn't expect it to be a terrible film because I knew from looking at the cast and those involved, as soon as the film starts, really, the production values are all there. It's on point. And it's got some strong leads with Shailene Woodley and Ben Mendelsohn. Now, Ben Mendelsohn playing against type here. He normally plays a bad guy. He's been bad guy, Ready Player One, Rogue One, so on and so forth. He's done it, and he plays a great bad guy. But he's playing against type here. He's playing like this lead FBI agent who's trying to track down this killer, and he's a really good kind of. He's a strong leader, he's a fair leader, and he's a great mentor to the Eleanor character, who's quite raw, but obviously very, very gifted at the same time. And the film also has, at times, a Silence of the Lambs feel to it. You know, the fact that, you know, how the Jodie Foster character was kind of recruited, you know, out of the academy sort of thing, and then she's brought on board to try and track down this killer. So the only real massive difference here is obviously, you know, they don't go and consult with a current serial killer behind bars or anything like that, and the killer involved here is a completely different type of killer, but it's similar in its ideas sort of thing, and there are a couple of moments where it does make you think of Silence of the Lambs, but it's not trying to clone it or copy it at the same time. It's just similar in concept and certain ideas in the film. And it's one of those films that immediately gets your attention. I mean, sometimes films can take 10, 15, 20 minutes, sometimes longer to get going, and sometimes you kind of like looking at your watch, kind of like, is it going to get going yet? And then sometimes they do get going and you're interested and you quite enjoy them. However, this one, within the first minute or so, you're on board. You're like, whoa, because it is such a brutal opening. This sniper literally taking out random people. And while we only see about, I don't know, maybe half a dozen or more shot, in actual fact, the total we learn is 29 people killed by this sniper. I mean, could you imagine that if that actually happened? You would be, oh my God, it'd be like headline news literally everywhere around the world. So that gives you some idea of like the importance of this investigation, trying to track down this killer sort of thing. And I think the film does a good job of that. That, you know, there are moments in the film where if you like, there's another scene in the film where we see a little bit more of this killer. He's kind of cornered in like a shopping mall, and it's filmed very cleverly because we kind of initially we see it in real time. We see this killer kind of walking through the shopping mall with his hoodie up and all this kind of stuff. So you've no idea who he is still. It keeps that mystery going till the end. And then you kind of see him cornered by a couple of security guards, and then it clips to another scene, sort of thing, moves to another scene, and you're kind of like, oh, what happened? And then we relive the rest of that scene, like through CCTV footage and a little bit of like flashback scenes, and it's just so effectively done. You know, I mean, this killer is lethal, and absolutely remorseful. I mean, no remorse at all with him at all. He just doesn't hesitate, and again, you're reminded of the size of the task, and the deck is completely stacked against this investigation team. You know what I mean? Because he's got his own people working against him. You know, people that are trying to put false information out there to make themselves look better to the media and to, you know, the mayor and all this kind of stuff. And he's constantly, this investigation team is constantly having obstacles put in its way. So you just kind of like, how are they ever going to be able to do their job? You know what I mean? Because they keep constantly be given red herrings and poor information, and people making decisions that they've no control over, but they get the blame for. And it's actually quite frustrating as well to watch, because you're just like, just let them do the job, and it doesn't ever feel like they are ever left to do their job. Now, I think in regards to weaknesses for this film, I think there's a couple of things, really. Number one, it's quite slow and ponderous, I suppose. It doesn't, you know, flow along at a fast pace or anything like that. For me, I didn't mind that, because the stuff that I was watching, I was quite enjoying. And you know, the performances kept me interested and engaged, so I wasn't that fussed about that. But you may, if you don't like kind of slow burn of movies, you might not like this. There is, I don't know really what to say about the ending, and obviously I'm not going to spoil it. It felt a little bit anticlimactic, I suppose, but it was also well written. The dialogue and stuff like that. It felt like it was overly stretched out as well a bit, the ending. It felt like there was a point at the end where that would have been a perfect ending, and they kind of stretched it out a bit too much. And right at the end as well, Ben Mendelsohn's character kind of goes against type. There's a scene where she's encouraging him, let's get back up, and he kind of turns around and says, no, if we do that, kind of, you know, they'll come in and take all the credit, sort of thing. And you're just thinking, well, that's completely against type of his character. He wouldn't have done that. You know, that's not the character we were presented. He wouldn't kind of put himself or anybody else at risk by not doing that sort of thing, if that makes sense. And it doesn't necessarily make masses of sense until you watch the movie. But these are fairly minor niggles. I'm not going to lie. This was much better than I expected it to be. And it's a film that I definitely can recommend. Some people might not particularly enjoy it. It depends on what kind of movie you like, clearly. But if anything I've said really does interest you, then I suspect you will probably quite enjoy this one. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. I will be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.